So what about the role of antioxidants for prostate cancer? Here we're talking more about prostate cancer prevention in this particular model, though it may also be beneficial for treatment as well. But if you imagine a non-cancerous cell in the prostate, a benign cell, and over the course of a lifetime, these cells are exposed to a number of pro-oxidants. And so there's an ongoing balance between DNA damage and repair that's going on in all of our cells all the time. It's this kind of battle that's occurring in our body where, for example, if we're exposed to UV radiation from the environment, or there's just chemical reactions that occur in our body, environmental pollutants, obesity, these all have potential to be pro-inflammatory and to damage our DNA. Likewise, well-done grilled meat also is well known to have carcinogens, the heterocyclic amines in those grill marks, as well as others. And so these are all constantly bombarding our cells, and then our body has ways to repair the DNA naturally. The question is, what about if we take antioxidants in various forms? Could that potentially be preventative for prostate cancer, for example? Well, a lot of money was spent looking at this specific subject for prevention. It was a large prospective randomized trial where investigators, for example, put patients on either selenium, which has some antioxidant effects, or vitamin E, which looked like it had some favorable effects, or both, or a control group. This was called the SELECT trial. And the bottom line is, after millions and millions of dollars were spent, important dollars, looking at this, it turns out that vitamin E actually slightly increased the risk of prostate cancer in that trial. And selenium was, for the most part, neutral. There were some unfavorable findings there. So that's why you need to do the studies. I mean, gee, what could be wrong with vitamin E? I mean, it just sounds great. But it actually turns out, if you do the study, they found out that vitamin E increased the risk of getting prostate cancer. So certainly when patients come in with their supplements and vitamins and everything else, I say, well, for sure, don't take your vitamin E. I mean, unless the doctor recommends it, which I don't think I've ever heard of. I'm sure someone would have an example here and prove me wrong. But in any case, what this study showed is I would certainly avoid vitamin E. And overall, use caution with excessive use of vitamins and supplements. There's been a number of studies done, not great studies, but okay studies, looking at people who take multiple vitamins and supplements. In some cases, those patients, if they do get prostate cancer, may develop a more aggressive prostate cancer. I mean, for a lot of the vitamins and supplements that are available over the counter, there's no good quality control over exactly what's in them. And really, you can get all these from the whole foods. And so what you're going to hear me prophesizing for the rest of the talk is kind of focusing more on the whole foods as opposed to supplements. So if we talk about the polyphenols, for example, antioxidants, these form the colors in the fruits and the vegetables. These are chemicals within the fruits and vegetables that form the colors and actually protect these plants from the environment. And so the question becomes, what color is your diet? David Heber wrote a great book on this. If you're interested in reading that, it talks in great detail about all the different beneficial chemicals within the colors of the fruits and vegetables, and possibly combining those colors may be beneficial. And there's a number of studies suggesting from whole foods that doing this is protective for prostate, colon, and breast cancer. So for example, if you look at, it slide's a little hard to read, but for example, if you look at chili peppers, within what makes up that red color is capsaicin. If you look at, for example, ginger, for each of these various vegetables that you see here, or in some case fruits, there's what creates the color in the skin is made up of specific antioxidant chemicals. And in our view, it's much more healthy, instead of taking a pill that provides something, just eat the whole food. Eat the broccoli, eat the cabbage, eat the garlic. Then you're getting a lot of benefit from that. And by mixing those, there may be benefit from mixing those colors and those chemicals that then work in combination. So I'm a huge fan of a whole food approach. People, are still the National Institutes of Health is still spending all this money trying to find that one pill, that one antioxidant, that one nutritional supplement that you can take that will then have a significant effect. But really, what we've seen over and over again is that's not working. And so, for example, when we do our studies, we're combining whole dietary changes along with fish oil. We're not just giving a fish oil capsule. And so, for example, if you look at the red that is in tomatoes, red grapefruit, watermelon, for example, what makes up that red color is an antioxidant called lycopene. And there's been very nice studies, for example, on men who eat higher amounts of tomato paste and tomato sauces, that lycopene gets into the prostate and appears to have favorable effects within the prostate tissue. And there's been some nice epidemiologic studies showing decrease in incidence of aggressive prostate cancer in patients who eat more, for example, tomato sauce and tomato paste products. So this is a great food, a whole food. And then the question always comes up, well, what about tomatoes as opposed to, for example, tomato sauce? Well, you're actually getting a lot more lycopene in tomato sauce because you've crushed the tomatoes together, so you're getting a lot more of it. Tomato sauce, typically there's olive oil in there, and the olive oil increases the absorption of the lycopene, and probably just smashing the tomatoes together even makes it more bioavailable. And so a healthy food choice, for example, is tomato sauces, when you're cooking or at a restaurant. And then, for example, there's the orange that provides beta carotene in the various vegetables that you see here. There's the yellow from the beta carotene and flavonoids that you see in this picture. And so, when you walk into the market and you see all those vegetables and all the different colors, the more you can get them together as one happy family in your salad, the better. There's the blue and purple, which also provides antioxidants, and definitely the white in allium and onions and scallions and garlic also has antioxidant effects that you're getting through a whole food. The other nice thing about the whole food approach is then you're filling yourself up, and that's also important, to get full so you don't, keep eating all that other stuff. So we've talked a little bit about lycopene already. It's a potent antioxidant. In a specific study, 2+ servings of tomato sauce per week was beneficial, and it appears the sauce was more effective than fresh tomatoes. Fresh tomatoes still great food, for sure. It's just to get more lycopene, you get it in the sauce. Number of interesting studies on cruciferous vegetables as well. The broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, bok choy. These are rich in antioxidant called isothiocyanates. So you're also getting tremendous benefit from these. And pomegranate is also a rich source of polyphenols. The only thing to be careful of with the pomegranate is if you're going for the juice, some of those juices have a lot of sugar in them, which can provide a lot of calories. So you have to be careful in that regard. Again, probably the whole food is better, or just the juices in moderation. A lot of interesting data on soy protein as well. And again, I'm more of a proponent of the natural soy and whole foods like tofu, miso soup. This is a good source of non-animal protein, but I would say caution with regard to the powder supplements. The soy protein powder, when you give those actually, I would not recommend. I'd recommend against those. Those actually raise levels in your bloodstream of something called insulin, like growth factor 1, which we know promotes growth of prostate cancer. So I actually recommend against a high protein supplement, unless it's doctor recommended, or for various reasons. But if you're just taking it for health purposes, those I actually recommend against.